Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another YouTube video. Today, we're going to be talking about how you right now as a beginner can start scaling your e-commerce brand to $10,000 per month using Facebook ads. And we're going to be jumping right into my brand new iPad. We're going to be walking through the exact steps you should be taking from testing, scaling, optimizing your ads, literally everything. So definitely stay tuned, watch the full video in length because if you do miss any steps, it's just not going to be useful for you. So stay tuned and let's jump right in. So like I said in the intro, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be talking about how you guys as beginners with your new brands are going to be able to scale to $10,000 per month using paid traffic, specifically with Facebook ads. Now, I know this is a huge topic right now. I get tons of DMs flooded into my Instagram, into my Facebook, talking about how people are trying to scale to that $10,000 mark. It seems like that is really the ultimate goal for a lot of beginners is they want to reach that 10K per month mark because they just feel like it's going to really allow them to skyrocket to 25K months, 50K, 100K, maybe even 7-figure months. So I don't want to waste any time. I want to jump right into my iPad. But before we do, I want to ask you guys to please like the video if you guys get a lot of value from it. And do not forget to subscribe. It helps tons with the YouTube algorithm. It helps me as a creator. And I'm coming out with more and more content every single week, trying to work my way up to about 3 videos a week for you guys to help you guys really scale your online e-commerce businesses. Now that that is out of the way, let's jump in my iPad and get right into it. All right, so we are in my brand new swanky iPad, and we're gonna be going over the exact strategies that you need to be doing right now to implement into your Facebook ad campaigns in order to scale to $10,000 a month, okay? So let's talk about first testing, right? Everyone knows when you start off in Facebook, you have to run your initial tests. And this is going to be coming into play when you are creating your campaigns, when you're creating your creatives, all these different things. Now, I'm going to be very, very simple today because I think a lot of you watching this video have probably run Facebook ads before. So you don't need me to tell you what sort of objective of your campaigns you need to be doing or how to install your pixel, nothing like that. I'm going to just dive straight into the, more detailed sort of way of actually building out these campaigns, okay? So to break it down very, very simply, when you are testing, the new way of Facebook basically works like this. Because iOS 14 has taken away a ton of data. I mean, a ton of data. You've probably noticed it. If you are someone that is probably using, 1 interest per ad set, you're probably not seeing the best results, at least right away. So the new way that Facebook is really encouraging a lot of advertisers to run their media buying is by basically utilizing more audiences within their ad sets. So basically what that means is instead of the old way of doing it where you'd have one ad set, and then inside that ad set, you'd have, 1 interest, right? The new way of doing it, I totally spelled that wrong. There we go. The new way of doing it is per 1 ad set, you're going to want to increase the audience size and have about 3 to 4 different interests, right? And this definitely, correlates into your lookalike audiences as well. The biggest thing here is they just want you to use broader audiences because before 1 interest maybe only had like a 1 to 3 million, audience size, right? But what they want you to do now is with stacking these interests, maybe you're going to be able to have, a 3 to 10 million audience size, right? And what this is just going to allow you to do is it's going to allow Facebook to optimize better and find your ideal audience just a lot quicker. We've been implementing this for a lot of our clients, and honestly, it's been like incredibly effective. And so definitely give it a try. If you are still, an advertiser right now that is testing and you're still finding you're getting decent results with 1 interest per ad set, obviously continue doing that. Like this isn't just concrete, but take my advice into consideration. Definitely try stacking your interests, okay? So the first things first is when you're creating your new campaigns testing, I want you to have 5 different ad sets, okay? Now, within each of these ad sets, like I mentioned, you want to be able to have 5 or 3 to 4 different audiences within them. Okay, so these 3 to 4 different audiences within them can be interests, especially when you're testing, you probably don't have, the actual data to be using lookalike audiences quite yet. But first things first is you want to be using 5 ad sets, and inside those 5 ad sets, having 3 to 4 interests within them. Okay, now when we're talking about what's in those what's in those interests. It's definitely going to take a little bit of customer avatar research. Go back to my older videos where I discuss how to plan out your angles, how to plan out your creatives, your copy, literally everything, so that your campaign is going to be, fundamentally sound in order to actually run a profitable campaign. Okay. Now you have your 3 to 4 different interests, which you've done research on. Now it's time to move on to the actual ad level, right? So this is going to be your ad set level. We'll write that. And then this is going to be your ad level. Okay, so now that we're in your ad level, what I highly recommend everyone doing, and I see so many advertisers and dropshippers and people who are building their brands, whatever it is, they do this so wrong. Usually what people will do is they'll have their ad set, which is right here, and in that ad set, they'll only have one creative and one copy. Okay, not a good way to be doing things. And the reason why is because when you do this, you're losing so much of an opportunity to be able to test different creatives, test different angles, different offers, and it's just not going to allow you to scale at the rate that you want. Okay, so the best way to actually do this is you have your ad set, but per ad set, you want to be able to have 2 different creatives. Okay, so when you have 2 different creatives, it's going to allow you, like I said, to be able to test more. You're going to be able to test the first 5 seconds of each video. You're going to see which hook is working better. You're going to see which part of the video is, engaging your audience better. It allows you to test more offers, more angles, literally so many different things. So I would recommend no more than probably 3 to 4 creatives. And the reason being is just because once you get to that point, you're going to have to start really increasing your ad spend. And at this stage, you're probably only going to be testing. So you're not going to be needing to spend a whole lot of money. 2 creatives per ad set is what I would recommend. Okay. Now, what I and my team have been really discussing here is the most important thing when you are testing your creatives is it's not actually having the same creative and the same preference within each creative, because what you'll find is for the most part, your click-through rate is going to be the same. If you have the same creative, but the first 5 seconds are different, the click-through rate is probably going to be relatively the same. It might be off by 0.4%, but relatively the same. What you want to be doing is, of course, change the first 5 seconds, but have the offer and the angles be different, right? So the main things that you really want to be considering here in your different creative is A, your angles, right? B, you want to make sure that maybe your different offers are in place, right? When you're testing these 2 different things right here, this is going to allow you to really see what is working right out the gate. And I'll tell you right now is if you can identify a angle that resonates and an offer that resonates, it is going to allow you to build so much more creatives down the road that are going to allow you to really scale. And basically, once you have more creatives in your back pocket, you're never going to run into a situation that you have ad fatigue, right? Because every 2 to 3 months, typically, if you are running the exact same ad, you will start to see your CPMs skyrocket and your click-through rate really begin to dip. And that's because Facebook doesn't want to show your overly shown content to your audience anymore, right? So keep that in mind. Make sure you're testing different angles and different offers in your creatives. And depending on how you like to do things, how you like to organize it, totally up to you. Highly recommend it, because if you can identify 2 really good angles and 2 really good offers, this is going to allow you to do some really, really good things. Okay, so highly recommend that for sure. Now, what you really are aiming for in the testing phase is you're trying to identify, obviously, your winning ad sets, right? So a lot of people are asking okay, how much budget do I need to be allocating towards my ad sets? Because you have 3 to 4 different interests now within one ad set, what you're going to be wanting to do is probably make it no less than around $7.50. For some reason, that price point is it just works really, really well. I'm not too sure why. I don't know if it's a glitch in Facebook system, but I'd go no lower than $7.50. But I'm recommending just staying with about $10, right? Sticking with that $50 per day in testing is also really, really good. So again, like I said, keep your ad sets at $10 per day. I know this is getting a little bit messy. I'll start a new page, but $10 per day for each ad set is a really, really good starting point. It's going to allow you basically within that 3 to 4 day time frame to get enough impressions to make calculated based decisions in how to move forward with those ad sets, whether it's breaking them down more, whether it's adding new creatives into the mix. It doesn't really matter, right? But make sure $10 per day, it's giving you a good budget. Stick to that. that is very, very ideal. If you want to go more than that, go ahead. It's just basically going to, shorten the time frame that you're waiting. Instead of waiting 3 to 4 days maybe to get your information, you're maybe only going to be to wait like 2 to 3. So just keep that in mind as you're running your ads, okay? So now that we have your testing in place, okay, what are you going to be looking for in terms of optimizing your ads? This is a big, big thing that I think a lot of people, they don't truly understand. And this is a big, big deal because if you don't know how to optimize your ads, then it's going to be very, very hard for you to scale and for you to really, get to the point where you're actually running very profitable campaigns. So let's talk about optimizing your ads right now, right? Because if you don't know how to optimize your campaigns, you're pretty much, dead in the water. You won't know how to really scale up anything. So you need to know how to optimize, okay? So first things first is when you are optimizing your campaigns, I want you guys from the first 4 days after running your initial tests to be looking out for the add to carts, okay? Now, first things first, your add to carts are really, really key. After 4 days, if you see that nobody has added to cart, then you're gonna wanna turn those off. So I'm gonna write down here, turn off ad sets with no add to carts, okay? Now this is key because if no one's adding to cart, then obviously those interests just maybe aren't working. Those ad sets really aren't working, okay? Now, moving forward to 5 days, you're gonna wanna turn off the ad sets without a purchase, okay? So same sort of thing, but no purchase. Now, this is also key because you don't want to be running your ads for 5 days, spending $250 to not get any sort of profitable, performing ad sets, right? So turn them off if not getting purchases. The thing is when you're testing, you're probably not going to be that profitable. If you are, it probably means that you just have a really good product with a lot of, really good profit margin on it. However, within 5 days, if you don't have any purchases on an ad set, definitely turn it off. It's just not going to be worth it, okay? Now, that's kind of the time frame that you're looking at. So now some things that you really want to be looking into when you are really optimizing the nitty-gritty side of things in your guys' campaigns and in your ad sets are things like your CPMs, things like your click-through rate, right? So what your CPMs basically are identifying is your CPMs are basically how good your targeting is and how good your ad is, right? Because here's the thing, your CPMs can be good on a targeting level, but if your ad sucks, Facebook is not going to want to show your content on the end user's feed because again, it's their platform. They don't want to hurt their platform and they don't want to be showing good garbage content to their end user. So CPM does very much have to do with targeting and also the ad, right? And basically your click-through rate has purely to do with your ad copy, your ad creative, the headline, the offer, things like that, right? So make sure you're focusing on these two metrics because these two things will really allow you to be good on the front end of landing with your audience, right? If you land with your audience and give them the best chance of, clicking on that link, going to your website, you're already, in the top 10% really of advertisers on Facebook, okay? So focus on those two things. I want to just erase this stuff for just a moment because I want to be able to walk you guys through the exact process that we look through things, okay? So up here, we have your click-through rate that you're going to be looking at, and we have your CPMs, okay? So that's one thing. Now, once people are clicking off the page, this is where you start to really analyze your funnel in terms of people who are clicking. So you're gonna be looking at your clicks. You're gonna be looking at the landing page views. This is basically your loading page speed. So if you see that a lot of people are clicking, but not a lot of people are landing on your landing page, then you're definitely gonna need to optimize your page speed, okay? Then the next step is add to carts, to initiate checkout, to purchase, okay? So basically what this is now, this is basically going to be how effective your actual landing page is at selling your ideal audience member, okay? So if you get this right, you should have a good website conversion rate. And that's your goal. So you want to be able to make sure that your click-through rate and your CPM are good. And if people are clicking on the link, they're landing on the landing page and then they're moving on to each step, that is where things get really, really exciting. That's when you start seeing really, really good results. And so these metrics right here are the ones that you need to be focusing on, okay? So obviously there is more work that goes into it, but breaking down each one at its core is actually pretty simple. I see a lot of people, they move on to a different product, they try testing different things, and it's just not a good way to run Facebook ads, right? You don't need to be changing things up. You don't need to be testing a new product. You need to be focusing on the overall funnel, okay? So that is how you're going to be optimizing your campaigns on a very granular level, and being able to really ask yourself, what areas within the funnel need to be optimized to achieve the next step in the funnel, okay? Don't try changing everything at once. Optimize your click-through rate, optimize your CPMs, then try to figure out your loading page speed with this, which is this, and then be able to focus on the add to carts to initiate checkouts to purchase, okay? So hopefully that makes a little bit more sense for you guys. Okay, so now let's talk about scaling, okay? Scaling all this fun stuff. So once you've gotten to the point now where you have a few different ad sets, maybe you've gone back and forth, you've tested new ad sets, you launched your initial 5, and then those didn't work, you launched another 5, and a few of those worked, right? So you have some really solid data. You have these ad sets that are performing day to day very consistently, right? So let's just say that you have, out of all of the things that you've tested, you've had 3 ad sets that are doing really good, okay? Each of them is, 3 ROAS, this one's a 4, and this one's maybe a 2.5, okay? And this is profitable for you. So again, know your break-even ROAS before you start scaling. This is key. You do not want to scale ads that are not profitable. Okay, so with duplicating, there are 2 ways, okay? 2 different ways to actually scale your campaigns. One of them is going to be through duplicating your ad sets. One of them is duplication. And then the other one is just increasing or adding ad spend, okay? Adding ad spend to that given ad set, okay? So let's say this ad set right here was at $10. Okay, all you're going to be basically doing is just increasing it by no more than 20%. And the reason why you don't want to increase it by more than 20% is anything more than that, Facebook just does this weird thing where they have to re-optimize their systems. It gets really annoying. You'll be sitting there wondering, like, this ad set was working like a week ago and now it's just like shitting the bed. You don't want to do that, okay? So just make sure that this $10 ad set, you're increasing it by 20%. So basically you would move that to about $12, okay? So that's one way of adding your ad spend, okay? Now, the second way of doing things is duplication. So let's say this ad set right here is at, again, $10. All you're going to be doing is duplicating it. So you're going to be creating a whole new ad set, and that new ad set is going to have more budget allocated to it. Now, this one, you don't need to be within the guidelines of 20%. Typically, the way that we do things is if we are scaling or, duplicating these ad sets, the way that we like to do things is if we go from a $10 ad set, we'll go to a $15 ad set, and then we'll go to a $25, and then we'll go to a $50, and then so on and so forth, right? So that's kind of how we like to do things. We just typically find that it works with Facebook's algorithm. We're not messing with anything crazy. So definitely try duplication, try adding ad spend. I will tell you this right now, every ad account is different. We've worked with ad accounts that only work with duplication. We've worked with ad accounts that only work with adding ad spend, right? Like, it just really ultimately depends on what works best for that ad account and what works best with the data that you have given. So give this a try when you are scaling, and make sure, again, even when you are scaling, you're keeping an eye on your metrics like your CPMs, right? You can definitely expect these to increase just a little bit as you start scaling. Keep an eye on your click-through rate, right? Make sure that your click-through rate is at least a 1.5%, right? This is just going to allow you to have the best amount of traffic coming off your site. This is really just a minimum standard, but I would definitely make your goal to be above a 2% click-through rate. A 2% click-through rate is just going to allow you to really, generate as much traffic as possible from your ads to your actual landing page, okay? So these are very important metrics to be looking at when you are scaling. And even other metrics to be looking at is, again, your landing page views, to your add to carts, to your initiate checkouts, to your purchases, right? If your purchases aren't good, or this sort of funnel isn't good, it's going to be very, very hard for you to have a good website conversion rate. And a good website conversion rate, and it definitely varies across industries, is about 2%. Okay, so if you have a 2% web conversion rate, this is just going to allow you to really optimize the amount of traffic that is actually converting on your guys' website, right? So you want to make sure that you're just capitalizing and monetizing as much traffic as possible, okay? So definitely utilize this scaling method to your abilities. I know it's very, very simple, but scaling doesn't have to be complex. It doesn't have to be hard, right? Once you have your good creatives, you have your good angles, you have your ad sets that are doing very well, you can start duplicating, or you can start using your ad spend to increase the budget of those ad sets, okay? Okay, so let's talk about maintaining your ads now, okay? So at this point, you've tested your ads, you've found some, proof of concept, and you've gotten to scale, and maybe right now you're spending about, $100 per day, okay? $100 per day, you're spending about $3,000 a month, and if you're generating, pretty solid ROAS above a 3, that should be around, the 10K sort of revenue point, okay? That's all it takes. If you're spending $3,000 a month and you're achieving about a 3.33 ROAS, you're doing 10K per month, okay? It's very, very simple. So let's talk about how to properly maintain your ads, because maintaining your ads is just as important as all the other steps that come before it, because if you don't know how to properly maintain your ads, it's gonna be very, very difficult for you to sustain that success for the long term, okay? So number one, and I see this happening so often, is people find, one or two winning creatives and they just use those forever. And what happens is ad fatigue on Facebook starts kicking in, and ad fatigue basically will skyrocket your CPMs and it will shoot your click-through rate down into the ground. So you want to make sure that you're just testing new creatives, okay? Testing new creatives. And this is going to be very, very helpful for you guys, okay? Because when you're testing new creatives, you can find new winners. And once you have about 4 to 5 winning solid creatives, you can just swap through them throughout the year, and you'll never run into ad fatigue, right? Because you give those ads a little bit of time to take some rest, to chill out a little bit, and your customer doesn't need to see those all the time, right? And plus, if you're trying to sustain a brand for the long term, you don't want to be using the same creatives all the time. You're going to need to make some creatives, every few months, just to be able to show some sort of new content to your guys' audience, okay? So testing new creatives, okay? The next thing, and it kind of ties into it, is don't be afraid to test new angles, okay? Inside your creatives and inside your ad copy, you need to be testing new angles. New angles is what's going to allow you to resonate in new ways with your guys' audience. And this is key, because your angles is what your foundation really is to your creative and to your copy, okay? So make sure you're testing new angles. Make sure you're doing more research on your competition, on your industry leaders, on your products, on your industry itself, literally anything to be able to give you more, more bullets in the chamber for you to actually test new angles, okay? So that's number 2. Now, number 3 has a little bit more to do with actual omnipresence. Now, what omnipresence really is it allows you to really stay at the top of your mind with your customer, okay? Now, what I talk about when I'm talking about omnipresence is right now you're currently utilizing, Facebook, right? You're utilizing Facebook and Instagram's platform. Now, if you find that your audience range is maybe, 25 to 40, you would take this information that and there's obviously other information in terms of gender, demographics, locations, everything like that. But you take this information that on your current customer, and you would say, okay, which other, platforms host my audience? Well, for sure, 25 to 40 would be on TikTok, right? Now, I probably wouldn't say 40-year-olds on TikTok, but definitely 25 to 35. So TikTok would be one that you could consider. Google is definitely a really good option. Google isn't obviously a social media platform, it's a search engine, but Google will definitely have your audience if people are searching for your products, your industry, things like that. Google. And then other ones are potentially, and this is kind of works into Google, but YouTube might also be another one as well too, okay? So another thing that I mentioned, just omnipresence, keep in mind that you don't want to just rest on one social media platform. You don't want all your eggs in one basket. Make sure that you are expanding to different sort of social media platforms or search engines, because again, this is just only going to help you in the long term as you really start expanding, okay? Now, another tip that I have. Number 4 for being able to maintain your ads, okay, is test new irresistible offers, okay? This is, again, it's not the same as angles. Offers and angles are completely different, okay? New offers are basically what, intrigue your customer. This thing, offers are things like, buy one, get one. So BOGO, 30% off, things like that. Free shipping on orders over, a certain amount, right? Things like this. These are what new offers really are. And the thing is that you need to keep in mind for every single one of these is you need to make them irresistible. They need to be something that is attention grabbing, right? It needs to grab the attention of your guys' audience. And usually what we're actually finding right now is if you can make people aware of what your offer is right away, and you just show people what it is that you're selling, what your offer is right away, waste no time with them, they will convert, okay? So again, make sure that you're testing these new things, test your new offers, test your new angles, test new creatives, create omnipresence. And I'm telling you, these are going to be great ways to maintain your ads and make sure that the success of your ads is, kept in a very solid shape. It's going to definitely make your life a lot easier because it's not going to require you to find more products or rebrand or build a new store. I see all these crazy things that people are doing. They start creating excuses when they see their ads taking a dip, and they just start, all hell breaks loose. It's absolutely absurd. And so just make sure you're just, keeping level-headed, make sure that you're doing the right things to maintain your ads. And I'm telling you, you will be successful, okay? So ladies and gentlemen, that is it for today's video. I really hope you guys enjoyed the new sort of structure of this video. I know that my skills with the iPad are, still pretty subpar, but I promise they're going to get better. And as they get better, we're going to dive more into details about, Facebook ads, TikTok ads, literally everything that you guys really encourage me to do. So with that being said, don't hesitate to comment in the comments below with some new ideas for other future videos that I can be able to create for you guys. Anything that I can dive into that will help you guys out more, the better for me and the better for you, because you guys obviously are going to get that end value and be able to apply it into your guys' businesses. So just let me know in the comments below, and I'm happy to make that content for you. With that being said, guys, I don't want to keep you guys any longer. Thank you so much for staying tuned with this video. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.